pleasant evening to everyone, and welcome to Saliksik's first SalikSIKAT webinar series, where we feature researchers from various fields to talk about and familiarize us into the lives of researchers and the goings-on in the research community in the Philippines. So first and foremost, this webinar is brought to you by the amazing team Saliksik. Saliksik, if you're not familiar with it, is the Philippines' first crowdsourcing platform exclusively for Filipino research. The team aims to promote the importance of research in the development of our country, to humanize and deconstruct the towering images we might have of our local researchers, as well as to inspire aspiring researchers to pursue their field of research to help create a better Philippines. So if you haven't liked or shared our page or joined our community yet, feel free to do so. So before we begin, I know that you will pick up some golden nuggets from our guest today. And if you have questions, just feel free to post them inside though. We already pinned the link on the comment section down below. So there's the link. You can see, and the event code is SalikSIKAT. So for today, we'll be having Stephen Doliente. Stephen is currently a faculty in UP Los Baños in the Department of Chemical Engineering. And he has already taken his undergraduate in Chemical Engineering and Master's in Energy Engineering in UP Diliman. He is currently pursuing his PhD in a research program in Chemical Engineering in the University of Bath in the UK. So everyone, please welcome Stephen.
Hi, good morning, everyone there in the Philippines. Shout out to my colleagues in UP Los Baños, UP Diliman, also colleagues from my funders in CHED and British Council. And also would like to shout out to my family who is also watching, and my friends good morning to my friends here in the UK and elsewhere in the world. And of course, thank you for this opportunity to be invited to speak about research and hopefully inspire the young generation back home to take up research as a career and help in the nation building that our country needs.
Okay, so Stephen, thank you for having us today. Thank you for being here. And to start with, in the past few days, we already, built up to this event by posting information and facts about you. So I think the viewers, our 38 new researchers might say that we've gotten to know you pretty well now. But, let's start this by, having you explain or share with us the past research that you've involved yourself in, as well as the current research that you're working on, if you have one.
Okay, I guess it's best to show them a timeline of how I came up from the past to here now. So my interest in science actually started in De La Salle John Bosco College in my hometown in Mangagoy, Bislig City, and then there I was already joining science competitions. And when I was going for my high school, I won a scholarship with the Department of Science and Technology to take up my high school in the Philippine Science High School, Southern Mindanao campus. And that's where the training really of science and research was established, because we were doing lots of subjects in math, biology, chemistry. And then in our junior and senior year, we have a collaborative research project. And that's, where it started, that thirst for doing research. And then when I was going to decide for my university, so I chose UP Diliman. I did love chemistry back then, but I thought like maybe I could put an engineer at the end. So I decided to take up chemical engineering. And then I was surprised. Chemical engineering was so different from chemistry, because the first 2 years we were like having 5 maths, 10 chemistry subjects, I think. And then we have several physics subjects also. And then I didn't really know what to really do, because but during my I think in my 4th year and my 5th year, that's where I got involved in the research on biofuels under the tutelage of Dr. Rizalinda De Leon. And around that time, it was the Biofuels Act of 2008 was established or promulgated in the country, and we were having problems on feedstocks. So that project, we wanted to find out if we can produce bioethanol or biodiesel from waste material. So our group was doing on coconut shells, another group was doing on rice straw, others were doing corn stover. And then from then on, I decided to pursue my master's degree in energy engineering because I got excited and delighted with doing research on energy, and I was I got interested in the subject of energy efficiency, and so I chose doing nanofluid research, which is on mixing nanoparticles with water or any fluid to increase its thermal conductivity and increase the efficiency of heat transfer. And yeah, I was able to become a more mature researcher by then, because it was more of independent, using research tools, doing lab works, etc. And we also had a collaboration with the Department of Chemistry. So yeah, I'm very thankful to my supervisor, Dr. De Leon, and Dr. Susan Arco for that achievement of my master's degree. We had one paper for that, and then after my master's degree, I decided, okay, maybe I could try industry first. So I joined an engineering company, Chiyoda Philippines. But my thirst for doing science or research was still there, and so I decided maybe I come back. So doing a short research assistantship in UP Diliman, I got an opportunity to do research associate work in Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, wherein I was involved in the project on zero emissions desulfurization process for ships. So basically, the idea is to meet the environmental standards of ships, that they should only emit like 0.5% SO2, and you can only do that by either using expensive low sulfur fuel oil, or you can put a exhaust gas cleaning system. And so we wanted to develop a exhaust gas cleaning system that is compact and cost effective. And but for this project, this is under intellectual property, so I couldn't really say much about it. So there were no papers also published because it's under patent. And around 2015, I've gotten an opportunity because my contract in Singapore was ending. So a former high school from Philippine Science, Gino, sent me a message like, "Hey, we're looking for a new faculty who has chemical engineering degree and has a master's." And I just said yes. So, are you looking for me? So I was like, okay, so it must be fate, really. So that I end up in UP Los Baños, and there I was doing because I was already like a junior faculty, or more or less going to the senior. So I'm handling undergraduate thesis, and so I've continued my interest on biomass waste, mostly on waste valorization technology. So there I had students working on producing silica gel, silica gel that you put on your shoe from rice husk. And I also have a student who was working on developing energy storage material from corn cobs. And then I had a student also working on waste glycerol from biodiesel production for carbon dioxide capture. And yeah, we had several poster presentation and one paper from this one. So it was really a good experience at that time. So while working as a faculty, because I really wanted to pursue PhD, and that's also the reason why that I actually joined Singapore back then, because I thought it was going to be a path for me towards a PhD degree. And so I contacted my former professor, who's now working in University of Bath and who's currently my supervisor, if there was an opportunity to do a PhD. And so she referred me to the Jed Newton Agham Scholarship Program. And from day one, we've made a proposal. Until now, we're really working. She's really hands-on and supportive in this project, and this project is entitled Biomass uh, and the Environment Food Biomass Value Chains and the Environment Food Energy Water Nexus in the Philippines, whole systems analysis and optimization. So basically, it's like the country is actually my laboratory, because this is a computational or a modeling thesis. So we wanted to find out how to sustainably deploy biomass that has minimum impact and maximize its benefit to the resources of the country. So I'm really grateful also to my Department of Chemical Engineering family in UP Los Baños for allowing me to have a study leave, and also get promoted during while I'm even studying for my PhD degree. And also, through this, my experience so far in doing research right now has been very good. Actually, I had several conferences. I had through, of course, my supervisor. I thank here Dr. Sheila Samsatli has been supportive in writing articles, developing scenarios for our models, and expanding my network. Actually, so I have a network in De La Salle University, Manila, through Fred, through Aslina in Malaysia, and even in Mexico. And so currently I'm now a PhD candidate. I finished my confirmation report last year, and so far I have published about 4 papers, and and hopefully I finish soon by by next year, because my funding will end. Because so that's it for me. My plans obviously is to return back home, and as part of my return service, continue my research, and build a strong collaboration between the Philippines and the UK afterwards.
Yeah, actually, Stephen, that's really, really eventful. Actually, your history with research, starting from your high school, and then you're taking up chemical engineering, even though you just added engineering at the end of chemistry. It actually led to the opportunities
Yeah.
that you
So I was like,
that you, yeah, you
it was very I of course it was just, I could say that it was really an iterative process. There was no really like a straight line towards where I went to.
yeah, and actually, it was really interesting. Actually, us, the viewers right now, there's actually 56 researchers right now who's very interested, and I think what we I think what I would like to comment on what you said is yung how your journey in research, you weren't really discouraged during your during your early years in your path to research when you were taking chemical engineering, especially it wasn't what you expected, with the math and the physics. Good thing that you didn't get discouraged and shifted out of it, or you wouldn't get the Stephen that we're having right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, I would like to say to the viewers that you can post your questions inside. Though, don't be shy. Just ask away, and we'll ask them during our Q&A session. And also for your comments and shout outs, just post it, type it in the comment section, and tell us where you're watching, so everyone can see where this whole knowledge is getting shared with. And then special mention to former UP Engineering Dean Rizalinda De Leon.
Hi.
Actually, Stephen, you really mentioned that you were really interested and more inclined towards energy, renewable energy and biofuel. Could you tell us what inspired you to take this particular field of research?
This part of research, well, actually, I really took it up because it has that the develops your passion really for problem solving. There's a lot of things that you can really do with energy research, and I really would like to thank my supervisor back then, Dr. Rizalyn de Leon, for for inspiring us, our group, to take up biofuels research. And she was really hands on, from developing the problem statement to coming up with the design, and also coming up with um, the methodology and everything. And so, yeah, from then on, I got a hook, in our language, na hook, to to the research of energy. And I guess, if we go back to the time of the, man cave, tama ba? Yeah, to the time of prehistoric era, energy is an important resource because it feels this need for us human beings, such as basically safety and security, because we were
Yeah,
like,
in
you have,
like for fire.
for fire, it prevents the predators, and also for cooking, and also for material processing. And then, of course, from around the industrial revolution, the use of fossil fuels, we emitted so much carbon dioxide from then on, and we're experiencing now, climate change. And so there is actually a need for us to come up with solutions, innovative solutions, whether it's biomass, whether it's solar, whether it's wind. There will always have, like, negative impacts to the environment, and therefore we should have, make it to sustainably produce energy and consume energy at the same time. And I would like to place myself in that forefront of the research.
Mm-hmm. Actually, yes. Thank you for sharing that. Actually, what you mentioned that nahook ka sa research, you were, you sound really passionate about it, no? And actually, what I want to ask to follow up with that question is, weren't you, intimidated with the field that you took on? Because a lot of people rely on energy, and didn't you, get discouraged, or didn't you shy away from that responsibility that I'm going to be a part of this really renowned field?
Well, of course, at the very beginning, when you were doing research and doing a problem, you really don't know what to do. That's all right, I guess. And yeah, as you keep doing things, when you try you actually gain the momentum, and you gain the
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
confidence. Actually, it doesn't really happen
exactly.
overnight, and it's always going to be, increments.
Mm-hmm.
Progress always happens in increments, basically. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, as um, there were times of, anxious, if what I'm really doing, is this really the right solution. But of course, it's always going to be you just have a perspective, basically. Taking it with perspective, whatever solution or that you come up to a research problem.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Like, what opportunities do you see yourself in your current university, and how is it, research industry wise, different there in abroad as compared to what we have here in the Philippines?
Okay. Okay. So for one thing though, here in the University of Baja, they really value your independence, and of course, UP Diliman, we also, and back home there is a sort of independence, but here you really trained to be independent, and you need to, like, basically, you hold much of your time when you're doing by research program, and henceforth you must have, like, a sort of a plan. I'm actually a planner, basically, so I come up with my own Gantt charts, and check it every month, and how much progress I'm already making. So some things like that really helps when you're doing independent research. Another difference would be the vast resources here. So of course you have access to several journal articles from whatever field you have, and our libraries is very good, actually. And of course, you're provided with your own workstation and reliable internet. That's one thing that's really important, because here, some courses are delivered online, some are delivered, face to face. So it's important to have that. And then another one is because, here since you're not doing any research with a particular course or like a subject that you enroll each semester. Rather, you will have like trainings and workshops. So the University of Bath and almost all the UK universities has this research development framework that they have. So you're not only trained as a researcher, but you're also trained as a teacher. You're also trained also as a what you basically you're going to be also trained uh, self-wise, like for your own personal development, and also as professional in the industry. And so I took the opportunity to take various courses, such as on writing, such as on reading. They actually have a workshop on how to read journal articles. They actually have workshops on how to do public engagement. They have workshops on how to do Twitter, things like that. Because here, that's what's lacking actually back home. That here research is actually like part of life, and the students are actually trained to engage with the public. And I'm really thankful that we have this Saliksik now, because it's a way for us researchers, Filipino researchers, to communicate our research to the public, and that's important, you know. And what else? Of course, there is also work-life balance. There are many activities here that from undergrads to postgrads that can do, like quiz. Here, like pub quiz. You know that, right? And also, what other activities? Social activities, also sports. Actually, the University of Bath is a what you call this, a sports university, and we have a very good facility here. So some of the British or royal athletes are here. They train here in the University of Bath, and also the university also emphasizes on mental health actually of the students. So there are various resources that the student can take like we have like a well-being drop-in. So if you're having like a problem, there's a team of staff that you can talk to if you're having a problem, and it's always going to be confidential. And then there are also like mindfulness activities, meditation, yoga, things that you can enhance your mental health, which is necessary because actually I was a part of the doctoral peer program here during the lockdown. So basically, what I do is like I sign up to this program, and I acted like as a peer mentor, basically for those doctoral students who are like away from home, need someone to listen to, or like suggest on how to do their PhD, things like that. And finally, here, by studying abroad, your international network really broadens. So I have made connections or network with my colleagues in the department who do like research on photocatalysis, sustainable meat culture, meat culturing. What else? People doing on pharmaceutical products, etc. So that's, I think, the opportunities that you can really get when you study abroad.
Yeah, I think what I can say is it is more varied. No, it's more there are more options for students to take and researchers to take. They can unwind, they can access more references or resources. But actually, I think that our country is catching up.
Yeah,
We have workshops, we have trainings, but I think we just need to try to find find those workshops and trainings. It just doesn't slam on your face like, here I am.
Yeah, truly, that's true. Actually, the University of the Philippines, both from what I heard, and back home, there when I also was working, internationalization is also being pursued, so that we can attract more international students. And we're also catching up with our programs on student well-being, etc. Actually, so we're catching up. And in fact, the University of the Philippines right now is the top 100, top 100 of the young universities in the world. So it's really good that we're getting there.
Yeah, actually. So actually, it's really glad that you didn't pass up on these opportunities. Like helping out being thoughtful and helping out with others' mental state, with their others' mental health. And that's actually one. It lines with the next question. It's good thing. It's
Mm,
a good thing that your university also prioritizes research being a part of your life. Not just being
mm.
an isolated activity that that isn't really integrated in your day-to-day goings on. And actually, this is one of the lighter questions. So,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
is Stephen if he is not a researcher?
Oh, actually, I was planning to share an anecdote, but maybe next time. I'm just joking. So,
Go ahead.
so well, one of the anecdotes is because you're just related to this question is my flatmates here. You've been staying in the same flat for because during lockdown, right? And they kind of notice things about you. So one thing that they notice about me is that I use the same pair of spoon, the same fork. I'm sorry, the same plate. the same, I eat the same food almost every day. But really, it's just one way of saying that um, I have a very high sense of attention to detail. It's a lighter way of saying that I'm a perfectionist. But really, to be honest, if if I'm not a researcher at home, I think I'm a kind of a person that would, enrich myself basically. So I kind of do like inner work. So I practice actually journaling. So I write things about what I'm grateful for. Actually, it's one of the things that I picked up along the way. To maintain your mental health, basically things that you're grateful for. Some and also it actually helps your writing ability because when you do free writing, you just mind dump everything there in your journal. And also, I like reading self-help books. One of the self-help books that I kind of recommend to read for everyone is this the subtle art of not giving a fuck by by Mark Manson. It's a really good book, and I really recommend it to you. And also, books on stoicism is something that I actually enjoy reading every day. And lately, I've been hooked to this YouTube channel, The School of Life,
Mhm.
um, by Alain de Botton. It's about, you know, it's about living a life you know, if you don't have a religion. I'm not an atheist basically, but it's actually a good channel to how to live your gives you suggestions on how to live a good life basically. And then of course for my outer work, I'm actually an extroverted person, so make uh, I make good connections with people. So of course, I love traveling. So I have several.
Wow.
I love traveling. Mostly I enjoy traveling with my family because they're we hadn't really have an experience when we were young to travel. So it's really nice. And my my PhD allowed me to like have travels in Malaysia and also in US. So it was really a good opportunity to do conferences actually. What else I do? I love uh, choir. Oh yeah, sorry. I love doing running marathons basically. So I've been running since 2009. And then I had my full marathon around 2015. So that was something that I really was really sort of proud of, that actually I can run 42 kilometers nonstop for 4 hours.
Well, congratulations.
And then I also enjoy hiking with my friends. And here I still continue hiking with my friends and other adventures, going to beaches, etc. Well, I really miss the beach back home. Here, the beach is a bit too cold for you. Also, I'm into church choir. Um, I love going to theater sometimes if I can afford it and if I have time. I like my favorite so far is Wicked. That's a very good
Mm.
Broadway show. And of course, food trips. I really love food. As you can see on day 4, my favorite food is kimchi jjigae or kimchi soup, or good. uh, sa atin, it's like sinigang. It's similar to sinigang. That's
So
why
it's sour.
it's sour, and Filipinos love sour food. And then finally meeting friends. Yeah, so I love to kind of maintain my connections with friends. My friends in the Philippines, from elementary years to high school to college to my master's degree. My friends in Singapore from work, and here also. So it's something that I sort of value, to have a sort of a balanced life.
Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you for that, Stephen. Actually, I have comments on that because it was very interesting and very engaging. But for now, let's read shout outs. Let's read shout outs from our engaged researchers.
Mm.
Their shout outs is gonna be posted. A heart,
A heart, thank. Hi.
keep it coming. Heart, heart, heart. Actually, while we're looking at that, actually, it's really nice to see that you're really living a really balanced lifestyle. No, and I don't know if you did it on purpose, but you kind of integrated exercise in your daily routine or in your
Mm,
overall lifestyle. And the benefits of exercise to the brain is it has backup research on that.
mm.
And actually, what's really funny that you mentioned is you got to travel because of research. So I think we can say that traveling is a perk. No, if you if you're really doing well in research, you get to travel a lot,
Yes.
or you open that
Uh,
opportunity is open.
Actually, one of the funny questions that I remember during when I was applying for my PhD through my current supervisor, Sheila's like, Stephen, do you love to travel? It's like, yes. So it's like, okay, so we were actually jiving in this kind of love also. So my supervisor also enjoyed traveling and going to conferences. So it's a really good experience.
Actually, okay, that was. Thank you for sharing.
Mm.
Okay, let's move on to the next. Actually, let's read the shout outs. It's
Oh, hi Gino.
Gino
Hi Joseph. So I saw their I saw their
from
post.
Adamson Chemical Engineering Student Society. Oh, it's just
Hello.
like you, chemical engineering.
Mm.
Gab Lau. It's another one from chemical engineering. Jeremy Kyle A. Austria. Hello, everyone, and thank you again for joining us here in the SalikSIKAT webinar series. And we hope that currently you're having a fun time now hearing Stephen share his insights and his history with research. There's a lot more to ask and a lot more to learn, so stick with us until the end. So let's continue with our next question. So Stephen, you've shared a lot regarding your history with research. You must have faced challenges already. Could you share with us, share or what or who inspired you to get through difficult times? Because of course, we need those lifeline.
Okay, so I guess probably one of the things or nuggets probably is that I can say about challenges is about the research is um, well, everyone can do research, but not everyone really has the desire to do research. Or it maybe you can say that, no, not really saying bragging or something, but it's more like maybe not everyone's really cut out to do it, because you must have sort of, to inculcate some values basically when you're doing research, which is mostly like perseverance, also uh, keeping motivated, um, and also being open-minded really when you're doing research. And perhaps because now I'm looking at into stoicism, I could say that the ancient Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius is one of those
Yeah.
people that one of those figures that I somehow look up. Not just in your professional life, but in your personal life, because he sort of uh, promotes to develop wisdom, courage, strength, self-control, basically. um, and also, I guess it also comes back to that value of flexibility, because sometimes when you're in the laboratory, okay, you're running an experiment, and suddenly you realize that you don't have enough ethanol or don't have enough glycerol. So what you do? You panic, right? So I guess, of course, you can go to the technician. So what if the technician says there's none? So you could just message your other lab mates saying, hey, um, do you have extra ethanol or something like that? Or if for my case, for computational research, like, okay, I don't know where to find this data that I needed. So you
Yeah.
can go to your colleagues and peers. Hey, have you encountered this sort of data? Maybe you can, sometimes they don't really give you um, the exact solution, but they give you the lead. So at least you're in the right direction. Um, yeah. So flexibility as well as being resourceful is one of the things that when you're facing challenges in research. And also, yeah, who inspires me mostly is my family, especially my mother. I do remember her. She passed away like 2 years ago, and just before getting the when she was on her, like, in her state that she's about to go, um, and when we had the news about I got into the Jed Newton Agham scholarship, she suddenly sprung up. Like, she was really she was invigorated that I got, because she was actually praying for me to be able to get into the scholarship that I really wanted. And yeah, so I'm really thankful for her. Sadly, though, that 2 months later, she has to go. And yeah, I in times of I'm facing some difficulty, sometimes I would just say, like, what would my mom do in this situation, something like that, or
Yeah.
and sometimes some thoughts or some solutions would come. And I also would like to acknowledge my brother, Jude, because he's also been very supportive throughout my PhD. And one nugget that I got from him is like, you're doing your PhD right now, but you should also doing like a PhD in life.
Mm-hmm.
you know it's and if there's something that I realized, that a PhD is not just about earning a degree, but it's about transforming yourself. It's a transformative process, actually. And that's basically the idea of what a PhD is. Become a better researcher, or perhaps a better person at the end.
Uh-huh. Actually, when you were talking about, you were balancing life, in the earlier question that you answered, you were balancing life pretty well, as as I can say. And what really struck me the most was, you're really kind of like conducting a study about yourself during this whole journey that you're in. You're getting
Mm,
to know more about yourself, and you mentioning that right now actually, just agreed with what I thought
yeah.
a while ago. And regarding to the people that support us during the difficult times, it's really nice that you keep in touch with your friends, and you don't really hesitate to reach out to your colleagues, because
Mm,
that's, I think, when people are really down, I think most of us really kind of forget that we have people that surround us,
mm,
and yeah, they're just a chat away. And and regarding your family, I think it's really touching that you shared that with us.
mm.
And I think your mom is really proud of you for what you've done so far, and just sharing your knowledge with us, your journey with us, like right now, and for
Mm.
everything that you've done. Okay, so let's move on to the next. There are actually shout outs.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so hello there, John Archival. Jayan Revelar. Shout out to Pisay SMC. Hello, GSM Lai. Shout out kay Marcos. Hi Marcos Aurelius.
Yeah, if you know him, he's been dead 2,000 years already.
Really helped Stephen a lot.
Yeah.
Shout out. Okay, so let's carry on to the next question. This is one. This one is mostly for our viewers who might be
Mm.
interested in doing collaborations with you. So, are you open to doing collaborations, even if it's not in the field that you're currently involved in? You know, social science.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I'm really open to doing collaborations. But of course, I will always be bringing my my perspective as a as an engineer. But perhaps what I really like doing is multidisciplinary researches. So not just chemical engineering, but various fields actually, and it's really nice to talk to people from various fields because you get a different view of how they see a problem, essentially. And you know, some I would really love to work with a biologist, with a physicist, things like that, because they see a problem, in a more fundamental way, rather because mostly like engineering is mostly application, things like that. And some topics that my PhD is about whole systems analysis, or a holistic approach to things. So yeah, I'd be happy to do like sustainable agriculture, even sustainable fashion. Well, basically, it's really an interesting field also because how would you make a fabric more sustainable, or would you make it more renewable or something like that. Another area that's really growing importance right now is microplastics. We know
Mhm.
that the Philippines is one of the third highest generator of waste plastics that goes to the ocean because of our sachet culture. Basically, it's one of the problem that needs to be addressed. Uh, you know, on a wide scale basis, because it's not just about engineering biodegradable plastic, but it's also about addressing poverty, because sachet is a way for poor people to afford um, a shampoo because they cannot buy very uh,
Bulky, yeah, bulk
bulky
orders.
bulk orders. So and it's also a political problem because and also an economic problem because our private industry who makes these plastics, it's also very affordable for them actually to
Yeah.
do to do tingi-tingi, di ba? Or sachet, things like that. And also biodiversity protection is also one area that I would like to go to. So um, I remember when I was working lately on oil palm is one of the issues that oil palm is oil palm, right? Minola, cooking
Yeah.
oil, etc. So those are they're really facing problems on biodiversity, especially in Indonesia and Malaysia, and also the Philippines, because actually oil palm is a growing industry here. And finally, yeah, and also social science. I'd like to work with social scientists also because I think I got this inspiration also from Dr. De Leon that before any technology is really taken up by society, you also need to study the behavior of people because you wanna say like, okay, let's deploy electric vehicles, but do you think that the Filipino society would be able to take it
Technology.
also, right? Because there's a jeep, and the jeepney culture has been there, and how would you try to encourage the jeepney drivers to take up a new technology,
Yeah.
things like that.
Actually,
Yeah, that's a good point.
that's one of the things that we're currently facing right now, no? Since the government's trying to deface the old type of jeepney with
Mm,
the more electron e-jeepneys with the
mm,
aircon and the Wi-Fi. But I think what the government should really be focusing on is if if you can if the people can actually accept that change in culture. No?
yes, yeah, it's also one thing that before you uh, you know, include a social
Before,
scientist to
yeah,
also see a different perspective when you're putting up a solution.
yeah, I think that's one of the underrepresented kinds of researchers, the social science researchers.
Yes.
Because when people hear about research, they just think about it's science or it's physics and stuff like that. But they don't really know that there there are repercussions, when
Yes.
you try to tackle with the culture of the people and the
Yes.
behaviors of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Following that question, actually, what field of study do you see yourself in? If you're not in the current research field that you're in now, if you're
So
not
if
in
I
the
wasn't,
energy.
I think I would like to, if I wasn't doing computational research, I would have probably be doing laboratory research, experimental research on carbon dioxide capture, because of course it's an important problem to address. Another is solar fuel. So basically, the idea of solar fuels is you use solar energy, and then you take carbon dioxide, you have a catalyst, and you produce, and also water, by the way, to produce fuel, basically. So it's like artificial photosynthesis, basically, um, but on a different mechanism. It's a very interesting topic, but of course that would need very a lot of funding, basically. And I don't think the Philippines yet are. I don't know if there's a research group back home that's already doing solar fuels and something. It's an
Mhm.
interesting field. And of course, because of my love for mental health and social science, I like to take. Actually, if I wasn't an engineer, I would have probably taken psychology. I actually love studying people. Yeah, people are interesting to study, and also because it's not just people studying, but you can also use psychology to study yourself. And right now, there's this growing, body that or growing need in our society, that it's not just about, we're using material needs to meet our emotional needs, when in
Mhm.
fact we should be meeting those emotional needs. The Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Yeah. The highest one is self-actualization, but those
Right.
self-actualization, you cannot really achieve that by material needs. But they have to be addressed by other sorts of, um, ways, like how to be more forgiving, how to be more compassionate, things like that. Those are That's an interesting field, but of course I'm doing engineering now. So
Yeah. Actually, that was quite interesting. The solar fuel that you
mm,
mentioned.
mm.
It kind of reminds me of the movie Treasure Planet. Do you know that? Where
I'm
where
afraid.
the was powered by the sun. So the sun
Okay.
strikes on the surface, fuels the engine. Anyway,
Yeah.
side side. Actually, you've been very, very gracious by sharing with us your insights and your history with research. And I think our researchers, our very engaged researchers who are watching back home, are
Mm,
very keen. I sorry, I muted my mic. But
okay.
um, as I was saying, our engaged viewers at home might be very keen on the answer to this question. This is actually the last question before we head off to the Q&A session,
Okay.
and it's to ask you, what are the challenges that you faced as a researcher, and what learnings and key takeaways have you gotten from them? So to help us in navigating our path through research.
Okay. So I guess one of probably the challenges of doing a research is really not knowing what to do at the very beginning. Being lost, and and it, but the one way to mitigate that is that it's actually okay not to know everything really at the very beginning, because it takes the burden off from you, because it gives you anxiety and things like that. And but of course, it's not just going to stop from that uh, uh, sort of response, that it's okay not to know everything, but you have to work uh,
Mm-hmm.
on gaining your knowledge. And it doesn't happen overnight, basically. your research and also your career in life. Basically, it happens in increments. So, and it's always nice to be grateful for the day that you have, for anything that you've achieved during the day. And it's okay if only you just written just one paragraph in your paper. That's all right. If and it's all right also if you only just made a plan for what you will do for the next month, and that's all right. But of course, you have to follow through of what you're going to do. Basically, it's just being kind to yourself. And yeah, and also if you're lacking in skills and lacking in resources, it's really good to be open-minded and to collaborate, basically. And it's okay to ask help during, I remember that um, during my first few months in Singapore also, and also here in University of Bath, when I really don't know what to do, I ask my colleagues, okay, can you show me how to do the experiment, or can you show me how to do this? And then it's really important to have a doer attitude. Sometimes we think like that an action has to be motivated by an inspiration, but sometimes an action has to be motivated by action. So just keep, and of course when you're already in the momentum and all, sometimes you just don't want to rest. But I think one of the best lessons that I've got so far, I'm actually a little bit, I do, to be honest, I'm a bit of a workaholic. And then so, but I learned the value of rest, actually, value of rest and friendship, because
Yeah.
when you're rested, you can be able to do more work, and when you socialize, you're more balanced.
Mhm.
And essentially, yeah, and I guess so far, research, whether you're doing your undergraduate degree, whether you're doing your master's degree, or whether you're doing your PhD degree, it should be a transformative process. It should transform you. Because basically, when you say philosophy, it's actually from the word philo, which is logic, and Sophie is love, right? Or something. Tama. I hope, yeah. No, philo is love, right? And Sophie is wisdom. So I think I missed. Yeah. So it's basically love for wisdom. And that's being a doctor of philosophy, or whatever it is, should be something that, you gain wisdom and you become something better, hopefully. And finally, yeah, it's going to be always an iterative process. I know some viewers would think like, okay, I've come so far now, but what I can say is that it wasn't really a glamorous, kind of life, but it's more of like it was trial and error, basically. Yeah, and being open to opportunities is, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, being open-minded to opportunities is something that's going to really help you, because it gives you options in life. That's it.
Thank you for that, Paul. Actually, what really surprised me is the lessons that you actually learned. They're really for you to cope. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like to be kind with yourself, and more like um, doing realizing that progress is in increments. Nga. It doesn't just go boom.
Yeah.
Just I think yeah, it really would help our viewers to know that during their thesis, actually during their thesis, funny yun. Like most of us get paralyzed
Mm-hmm.
doing things because you're really stuck on getting this done, getting this much done for the day. Then it's glad to know that a researcher like you, a really renowned researcher like you, would say that be kind to yourself and just be okay with even if you did just one paragraph or
Yeah, or if you just set up the experiment, it's fine, and then the next day you just go to the laboratory and start it up, and
as
that's
long
it.
as we follow through with the
Yeah.
other things that we should
Mm-hmm.
have done that
Mm-hmm.
day. And actually, it's really nice that you mentioned that actions shouldn't are not really necessarily backed up with inspiration. It's like a snowball rolling down the hill. Just
Yeah.
take a little foot, goes na.
Yeah.
And actually, Stephen, that was very It was very insightful. Actually, we would like to end the interview session here, and I
Yeah.
would like to thank you for answering all of our questions. And I'll be giving the virtual mic to Paul, also part of Saliksik, and he'll be handling the Q&A. And again, I am Kath from Saliksik, and here's Paul.
Thank you, Kat. Nice talking with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the insight that you gave, for giving us your journey as a researcher, and actually surprise. A lot of our viewers today are actually high school students, and I
Yeah.
think they really want to get some insights from you. Know, so we actually did a pre-event ask for people that's attending this event. Then there's actually a lot of great questions there. So the first question that I would like to ask is from Justine. She's also from Philippine Science High School from the Southern Mindanao campus actually. And her question is, do you have any advice for students who want to pursue research work but don't have the resources to do it?
Okay. I'll just answer this in the perspective, the best perspective that I can think of. So, because it's usually case to case basis. So, a situation in Manila would be different from a situation in the provinces. But essentially, one of the things that you can do if the resources are limited is you can collaborate with your fellow your peers actually, so you can pull resources together and do a sort of a collaborative research, because it's a more practical way of getting money and coming up with a setup. Other ways to do it is I do remember some opportunities that if you talk to the barangay or even to the mayor and discuss what you're doing, you can actually even inspire the whole community there to do your research. Of course, you have to talk with your supervisor or your teacher, because I know some teachers back home are really passionate with doing research too, and they just need bright students that like you, who would like to to do research with them. Um, uh, what else? A good advice. Well, I'm thinking out loud here, so basically, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, those are great points though, because I think it really is important to keep in mind that money isn't really the only thing, the only resource that
Mm,
we need to make something great.
mm,
Um, I like the fact that you highlighted collaboration. That's definitely something important. I haven't seen any great initiative that was completely done by one person. So I do
mm.
believe that being able to find people in your network, just really think who else can you tap into for them to help you in your project.
I'd like to add to that though. Yeah. So for example, this your organization is Saliksik is actually a collaborative project of people, and right now, if you have available Wi-Fi or internet connection, you can actually do research by doing surveys. Doesn't necessarily you have to do like an experimental reading, and use data available in the internet. So but of course you have to be sure that the data that you get from the internet is reliable, because it's
Right.
going to be always a point of
Mm-hmm.
uh, of discussion.
Okay. Okay. Then our next question comes from Arrow Bakira. I'm not sure if I butchered the name, but the school is from also Philippine Science High School, Southern Mindanao campus. Was there ever a time when you felt like your skill set was inadequate for the research that you pursued or wish to pursue? And if so, how did you overcome it?
So actually, I have a similar answer to this to the question earlier. So I guess the answer again, my answer would be that it's okay not to know everything at the very beginning, and that's all right. So but what you do is so for my case, a very concrete example is I had to read books about it. I had to get the latest research journal. I also attended research workshops, for example, about writing, about reading, etc. Because you I did get a sense when I was doing my PhD that okay, this is really a new field for me, and I was a little bit anxious, really, when I was doing in my first, 6 months of into my PhD, because like, okay, it's really new. I'm not in the lab, okay, and I'm just with my computer right now, and yeah, and again, my suggestion is to talk to your supervisor. My supervisor Sheila was very hands on. It's okay to ask help and to discuss that. Okay, I'm lacking in this skill set, and she suggested things to do. And also, you can also talk to your colleagues in your
Mhm.
research group of how was their experience when they're doing the research in the first 6 months. And you can even ask templates from them, word templates, data, etc., that can really help you.
That's true, right? I think this is really an important question, not only in the research field, but also like in any initiative. Um, in anything that you pursue, I mean, you can't really expect yourself to know everything for what you're going to set yourself self out for. So if it's really, I really do agree that if it's really your fear, or at least your hesitation that you're not good enough for a certain initiative, do remember why you want to pursue, of why you want to pursue the thing that you are actually going to pursue, and just really push yourself and get out of the comfort zone. I know that
Yeah.
the research field can be very challenging. There's so many challenges besides the actual research topic. You might encounter bureaucracy if you're in a certain institution, but
Mm.
all of course, just always remember the why, in what you do.
Yeah, and that's the reason of actually doing a research, because you're not supposed to know everything at the beginning.
Yeah.
And of course, when it comes to resources, yeah, I just want to add that, as you mentioned, because you were talking about bureaucracy, right? So back there in the Philippines, bureaucracy is really something that you really have to tackle with. So you really have to be resourceful in the materials that you buy, and also in your experiments, because you would like to be able to get the equipment or the chemicals that you need. So, but if you have to go through the long process because you needed a very, very large equipment, that would really take time back home.
Mm.
But here, resources are really much more available.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what's the difference, though.
So we got another question from also your previous school. We got one from UPLB. From Tito. What are the advantages and disadvantages of studying abroad? And I think you tackled this earlier, but what are your future plans after you actually earn your doctorate degree?
I guess I could talk about disadvantages first. So probably the disadvantage is you're really far away from home when you're abroad, and you know you would really encounter loneliness, um, being isolated sometimes. But I think I was a bit lucky when I'm now doing my PhD, because I already had an experience of being away from home in Singapore, so I was really more used to really being far away from home. But to cope with that, I guess have a strong support network.
Mm.
Make sure to connect with your family, with your partner if you have one, and make friends. Basically, another disadvantage would be, I think, the language barrier. So if you're studying, so I'm lucky because I'm doing my PhD here in UK, so it's English, and we're familiar with English. But what if you're doing it in Spain or in Italy, in Germany or in Japan? So you really have to sort of learn the language of everyday life, because it would really be useful. And if another one is culture barrier, so sometimes it's a little bit hard actually to make friends at the very beginning, because you're not really familiar with the culture. But at the end of the day, it's still a human being. It's just they're speaking in a different language and acting in a different way. And it's really great to have to make friends, because not only they become your like future collaborators in research, but they can be your potential support network, maybe a potential source for a partner, whatever. And then advantage probably, as again I mentioned earlier, is the opportunities here are really vast.
Mhm.
It's just the I guess the number one thing that really is just the time time to take up all the opportunities to do workshops, to travel, to eat food, to go to places. Yeah, so I guess it's just the time, and those advantages can sometimes be a temptation, really. And you forget that, okay, I must be doing instead. Sometimes you might be like, why am I doing so many workshops when instead I should be doing my research right now? So anyway, so my future plans, of course, I'm under a return service contract, so I have to return home to the Philippines and fulfill my duty as a faculty. Yeah, and I hope to be be a bridge to UK Philippines research collaboration to the University of Bath, and yeah, that would be a good thing to continue.
So I definitely feel like the Philippines is looking forward to get back their
I hope so.
So we can move on to these. We have some live questions. No, we
Okay.
have the highest voted question for today. Is more of it's more of specific to the research that you're actually conducting. It's this person asks, it's an anonymous, but you can comment if this is your question. How far are we in using biofuel as permanent substitute for fossil fuel, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of using and making biofuel in the present?
Okay, so for biofuels, so I'd like to. Okay, I do remember the plan of the Department of Energy on this one, and it will be based on the plan that I saw in 2018 or 2016, and supposedly by this time, the amount of ethanol that should be mixed with gasoline um, should be about 20%, I think, or maybe 10 to 20%, somewhere there. And then for biodiesel, it should be about 5 to 10% now. So it's really so far away that we're really be going to fully substitute uh, or really phase out fossil fuels as a fuel in our vehicles, because not only would that be a problem with the vehicle, the engines, the engines have limitations on the amount of biofuels they can take up, but also on the available feedstock and resources that we have. Of course, the Biofuels Act wanted that we become independent from from fossil fuels, but to do this we need to plant a lot a lot of sugarcane and a lot of coconut, and we don't have much land to be able to do this in 30 to 30 to 50 to 50 within 50 years. And so you need to shift towards other feedstocks like as I mentioned earlier, lignocellulosic wastes. But again, the technology for that would take a while to develop, and I think it's advancing abroad, but there in the Philippines, I don't think the research on production of lignocellulosic waste to biofuels is um, is progressing very well. So I guess that's one of the disadvantages, and of course the advantages, of course, is the Biofuels Act was promulgated because it would be an additional source of income for our farmers, because they would be able to diversify from food crops to grow crops essentially for growing biofuels. But again, we will have a problem between food versus fuel. Are we going to use the land to produce food, or are we going to use the land to produce fuel? And we know that the Philippines is a very scarce land country. We're very terraneous. We're not actually a flat land.
Okay, yeah. All right. I think like we're running out of time, but I definitely feel like this is an important question to ask. I couldn't quite catch who said this specifically, but how close is academic research to the realities of the industry and policy making?
Sorry, can you?
How close is academic research to the realities of the industry and policy making?
Which country are you talking about?
I think you can tackle the one here in the. or here in the Philippines, if you would have?
I'll try to answer this as best as I could. Please don't. I might be misquoted, but what I could say is like it really depends on the how much how much research culture has been engraved in the society or in the country. Here in the UK, I could say that they value research so much, especially during the time of the pandemic. They were using levels of they have the R values, and they were getting data from actual data from the health sector on how to tackle the pandemic basically, and that's how close I could say research in or there's a term here that I've learned. It's like evidence-based policy, but there's also a term like evidence influence policy or something like that. And so far I could say in the Philippines, I think there is still a gap to be filled between for for academia the academic to really be in touch with the industry and the government. Industry wise, I think I do remember working in industry that sometimes there's no a research and development unit in most industries back home, because most of the time the industries buy the technology abroad. Although I heard like the OST is already like pushing for more technologies lately, like homegrown technologies, and that's a good initiative. And in terms for government, I think there's still a little bit of a gap also, because sometimes there can be policies that I'm not sure if they really have talked to academics, especially on the energy sector, water sector, and even the pandemic really. And sometimes there's always this silo thinking or isolated thinking that okay, I'm gonna manage the energy sector by itself, but the energy sector would have an effect on the environment, on the water environment, and agency, multi-agency collaboration should be there, because whatever you do, whatever policy you come up in the energy sector would really have an effect on other sectors.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's definitely a good an anecdote in terms of like the difference in terms of research development, as well as how close it is to policy making. I definitely do agree with the fact that everything is interconnected. So you definitely have to look at the different parties that's involved when it comes to developing your framework. No, when you're actually even though you're focused on one sector, I think it definitely requires collaboration.
Yes.
So yeah, there's still so many questions from people, but this is the only time we have left. So we really do appreciate your time. I mean, I learned a lot myself, as well
Thank
as
you.
your research journey is really inspiring. I mean, it almost feels like it's actually destiny for you to become a researcher, like with
Yeah.
how you found your scholarship. And that's very interesting to hear. So before I end this webinar, is there anything that you want to share to aspiring researchers, or any last words, as well as you can already put in things that you want people to follow you in?
Yeah. So I think forgot to mention this, that it was probably a little bit more of more of faith, probably, that I come from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and then we're a faculty, and I end up in the University of Bath. And if you translate Los Baños, it also means the bath. So it's probably a little bit of faith. But what I could really say is that it really is just it's just about taking opportunities. Probably I didn't really mean it that I end up also in Bath, but it's just being open-minded to opportunities and people to collaborate with, if you want to have a good research career. And I would like to thank you for the Saliksik for inviting me, and it was really a pleasure to share my research, share both my personal and professional life. And yeah, I felt like a celebrity for a week. But of course, like, I just want to say that I don't want to give a wrong impression to my audience, but even work continues from here on. I still have a year to go less than a year to go. And yeah, and I would like to encourage my colleagues in the Philippines and in the UK, if you want to be featured here in Saliksik, because they're gonna have you have opportunities to do that, and just message them essentially.
So do you want anybody to follow any of your works?
I would like to plug my research profile. It's in ResearchGate. You can find me in Google Scholar, LinkedIn, Scopus if you have one. I'd like to, if you need scholarships, you can check the OST, ERDT, CHED scholarships also through their K-12 transition program, British Council Philippines. And if you want to know more about the University of the Philippines, they also have their own local scholarship. And also, I like to promote the University of Bath also as a potential place for you to, the University of Bath also has, they would like to also, receive, encourage scholars, not only from the UK, but also abroad. The University of Bath is very, very, very international school. It's a lot of Indians, Chinese, Malaysians, also from Latin America. And I hope that they get more Filipinos, and Filipinos really have a chance to shine in the world, because this is what I heard from that. Actually, some PhD supervisors love Filipinos because we're really hardworking and really stick to the job, and that's something that hope inspire you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Stephen, again for your time, for your insights, as well as your story. I'm pretty sure a lot of our aspiring researchers were inspired by that. So we'll definitely we look forward to actually see you finish your degree and coming back here in the Philippines to help us in being a better Philippines in your specific field. So again, thank you. So now we can close the event. Now, we would like to thank our collaborators in this event. With them, we couldn't really achieve this. We would like to thank the HEED volunteers a lot. Because of them, we were able to execute this event, and you guys know who you are. Thank you so much for helping us out, and we look forward to working with you in other events. Then also, we would like to thank Make Sense for being our incubator. We really appreciate their help in terms of guiding us during our early stages as a startup, and we look forward to being able to collaborate as well with Make Sense. So before we end the event, I would like you guys to please give us your feedback on how we did in the event or the webinar. Your feedback is what will allow us to continually improve our webinars, in terms of format, in terms of content. You can just really be blunt about it. I'm pretty sure it's anonymous, so you can be open about how you felt about the event. So please give us your feedback. We'll put that in the comment section as well as the post-event page. And we would also like to promote SalikSIKAT is actually a monthly thing, and next month we will be having Saliksik. So this one is more of an international scope, where we would have a we would have an international speaker talk to you guys in terms of a more specific topic in relation to research. So we look forward to giving that to you guys. You can stay tuned on our page. Then lastly, please follow our socials. We will continually put out content as well as put out the developments on our platform, because again, we are a crowdfunding platform where we want to provide crowdsourcing platform where we want to provide opportunities to researchers. So you can follow us on our page, Saliksik Philippines, and you can also join our Facebook group, Saliksik Group. That's a more intimate interaction that we have with our community, where you can get the first-hand news of what we're doing, as well as the different opportunities that we are providing for our community. Then you can take a look at our beta website, saliksik.co, where we published our first project. You can take a look at that, but there's definitely more to come. We're improving the platform. And lastly, if you want to collaborate on anything, if you have any ideas, or if you want to connect Saliksik to any organizations, that would also be great. You can email us at saliksik.pinas@gmail.com. We would really appreciate it if you guys can also if you have any ideas or if you want to collaborate in anything, just hit us up. So that's about it. I would like to thank you guys again for joining us in our first webinar for SalikSIKAT, and good evening to everyone. And if you have, oh, this is a not such, but good evening, everyone. Please answer our survey after, and thank you again for attending. Goodbye.